Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me? Okay, looks like you may not have had enough food then, if you all can hear me. You're all still all active. Okay, but good to know that. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to IGDC, and I hope you're enjoying Chennai. Many of you for the first time in Chennai, right? How many from Chennai? Oh, one, two, three, four, five. That's it? And outsiders some more. I think we need to see that reversing next year. Okay. Thank you very much for coming over. Um, we will start this workshop just before this, uh, starting on the workshop and introducing our speaker. I just want to know that, I want to let you know that this year specifically, we took a long format workshop. Okay. What we have been for largely we have been doing is there's a lot of focus on technical skills, be it engineering, be it design, etc., etc. But somewhere we were missing some of the important essence that is required in a studio: culture, okay, and leadership. These are all the soft skills which are less spoken or less talked about in conferences, but they are very, very critical in your everyday professional life, right? So we thought we'll focus on that, and we were thinking about how do we go about it. And thanks to Mohsin, popularly called as Mozzy, he gave an idea. I will do it. You know, I've had this in my last 16 to 18 years of experience. I've gone through this. I've gone through troubles, but I've been fortunate enough to get lots of mentors who taught me this. Okay. Now I feel that I am ready now to share my experiences with people. I said we will do it in a workshop mode so that a lot of time is spent, a lot of case studies are spoken about, instances, experiences, etc. And not only this, he agreed that people who attend, I will offer them monthly follow-ups for next 3 months if they're willing to do it. Okay, this is going to be fantastic. It's a great way of mentoring. It's a great way of connecting with someone who has been there and done that and successfully produced some of the biggest games in the world. And you're going to get to hear from him and his experiences. And post this workshop, whatever takeaway, you go back, you practice, and in those, whenever we do it, if feasible, monthly or whatever time we could figure out, that time you can come back and ask questions and share your experiences, like what you could implement, what challenges that you had. Okay. Not only it helps you, you get a lot more value from it. Also, it is a feedback for us that next time we could do better job. All right. With that, let's welcome Mozzy. He's going to talk about how to build high performance teams and what has been his experience in his professional journey. Let's welcome Mozzy.
Thank you, Raju. All right, so I don't have to do the awkwardness of, can you hear me? I think I can hear myself too. It's too loud. All right, so before we begin anything, I just want to take the time to say thank you for being here, for investing in yourself, for betting on yourself, because leadership is a very dark place, honestly. It's a serving job, and when you're in the service industry, you always give and very rarely you receive, right? So I'm guessing that you understand what this is and want to know more. And for the folks who flew down here, made the effort, like I want to go to GDC, I want to get the value that I need, I want to be better. You've invested in yourself, so thank you for that. Give a huge round of applause for yourself, for betting on yourself, for being here and attending this workshop, because now that you've taken action, that's the first step, that you've said, okay, I want to do something about this. I'm curious about this space, and I want to see what Mozzy has to say, being in the industry for a little amount of time, right? So, if you can log into Menti, let's do a quick poll. Go to menti.com. I hope everyone has internet here. So menti.com, and the code is 655-85118. And let's do this live. So as and when you keep entering, what does leadership mean to you? Like so far, you've heard about leaders, you might have watched YouTube videos, you might have seen leaders in your local community, in your studios, in your workplaces. So what does this one word come to your head when you think about leadership? Right? So let's do that. Is it happening live? No, no internet? Can someone share hotspot on that table? Right, we see motivate, guide, responsibility, grooming, growth of the team, responsibility, that's standing out. Yeah, you need to motivate. What else? Okay, mentorship, vision, direction, empathy, leading. Again, empathy again. So, while you're still adding to it, one thing that clearly stands out here is responsibility. There's some sort of responsibility with every leader, with everyone who wants to be a leader, with everyone who is in current leadership position and aspires to be. I think that's really good that it's coming across as a group, that we need to be responsible for what we do, what we say, how we say it, how do we communicate. So let me tell you, so continue to do it if you still need to, because we need to move on. I want this to be very engaging. But before we do that, show of hands, how many of you have phones with cases? Right? And now, folks who don't have cases on their phones, can you put up your phones? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people like to live it dangerously, huh? Right? So let me tell you a story about why this is meaningful for me, right? I still remember the day I took the case off my phone. It might sound a bit silly, that why is Mozzy talking about a phone and a case? For years, I've always tried to protect my phone from scratches, from screen breaks, screen cracks, from dents. And the day I took the case off and held my phone in my hand, that in a way kind of changed my mindset about, am I protecting the right things? Or am I using things how they are supposed to and intended to use? Right? So today we'll explore that. Like, we'll explore the fact that what is the case that you've put on your leadership mindset and living without that case. Right? So we'll explore that and a bit about why you should listen to me and why this could be very meaningful for you. I've started my journey here in India, born and brought up in Hyderabad, traveled the world, worked at multiple different games. Some of the games that I've worked on, some of the teams that I've helped shipped games with. And also throughout this journey, I've learned a lot of expensive lessons. I say expensive because when you move out of your comfort zone, that's very expensive tax that you have to pay to do something that you've never done. Talk to people that you've never spoken to. Say things that you've never said. Actually, I'm an introvert. I might not sound like it. I'm forcing myself right now to be an extrovert. So that itself takes a lot of shift in how I've learned it through a hard way. And then the other day, I was just talking to a lot of people here, and I was talking to Raju about it, that 2 years ago, the Indian gaming community was so different than what it is now. I was speaking to a college kid, I don't know if he's here. He made a game on Roblox and sold it for like once a year. He's still in college. Right? This is how far the gaming community has come. And for us to scale this community from game owners to culture owners to folks who can build a great company, we need to have a different kind of mindset. Making a game is completely different from making a company or running a team, because the incentives are different. The way you communicate when you're working on a game is completely different than the way you're working on a studio or a company or a small team. So today, we'll spend most of the time in the high performance, how I deal with a situation when I see like how to improve the high performance team, or let the team know what is lacking in high performance, or defining what high performance is. Then we'll quickly move on to play first culture, and then inclusion, emotional intelligence and resilience, and then finally a break, and then finally we'll talk about the leadership growth that I've had and how maybe you can use this. And as Raju said, it's not going to just stop here. For the folks who are interested, I'm willing to spend time with you as a team or as individuals. Then we can plan that time out to see how I can help you, support you. Because like Raju said, I've had the luxury of having really good mentors, and while it might sound like a luxury, but it came through me actually taking action and like, hey, can you mentor me? And it's like, why? What do you need? Where do you want to be? What do you want to solve for? So those kind of questions made me think about what exactly do I want to do and how do I plan for that. So we'll spend some time there, and I'm going to share some of my frameworks. We have some handouts, and I'll give that to you. All right, moving to high performance. So for me, when I define high performance, the one thing that comes to my mind is Formula One race carpet. Everyone knows Formula One, right? You've seen these folks work in split seconds. This is one of the strongest definition of a high-performing team. They know what they do. They know when they need to do it. They know how to coordinate. They don't say a single word. The car is in and out in less than 2 seconds. And that is a deciding factor for winning and losing races in Formula One. Right? And that's something that we'll explore today. So before that, let me tell you a story. And I think this is really, really important for me. And this comes from my time at Rovio. When I was at Rovio, I was leading 2 game pods. 2 of them completely same configuration, same experience, same expectations. From pod 1, you're supposed to make X prototypes. Pod 2, you're supposed to make X prototypes time boxed. And the key difference in the impact was one team was able to do it, get the impact that they needed, and the second team was able to get 5x that of the team 1 as an impact. And the key difference was the team 2 or the pod 2 knew each other on a personal level. They made each other feel very safe. They made sure that they were heard, and they did things more than what a team does, which is hang out outside work. And those are some of the key factors that led to a situation where there were 2 pods that had completely same configuration, but had completely different outputs. And that made me think about what is high performance, right? So high performance isn't pressure, isn't the time box, it's the clarity, it's the safety net that you provide for your team. And we will do that now. So these are my 4 pillars that I look for in a high-performing team. And the way I go about it, we'll do a sort of a really quick activity. For the folks who can join a table, I would highly appreciate if you can come over, because we'll do an activity in the front. There are 3 chairs here, 2 chairs here. If you can join the table so that I know how to form a group. Can 3 volunteers come in the front? Thank you. And another 2 here. Right. Good job. Doing the uncomfortable thing. Welcome to leadership. Right, so clarity. One of the strongest pillars. Everyone knows what they need to do, who they need to talk to, and when do they need to talk to. Defining that is really, really important. Second thing is accountability. You all must have heard about the RACI matrix about responsibility, accountability, consulting, who needs to be informed. Whatever format you do, if it's a small team, if it's 20 people, if it's 60 people, accountability, the sooner you define, the better for the team, the better for the results, and the better for communication as well, who's accountable for what. Psychological safety is how you make others feel by your presence, and even more than that, how you make them feel in your absence, right? So that's another key thing. And impact and results. Defining what results look like, what good looks like, is another key thing you need to get really good at. So using these four, or maybe you have others, what I would like to do is yeah, so we'll define what high performance is for each of you individually. So if you can go to the mentee, and can you pass this on, please? Take one and pass the rest to everyone. So if you don't have pens, take the pens as well. It's for everyone. People on the back. Come in. When? Can you start the mentee there? So does everyone have the handout? Right, so log on to Mentee. What I would like you to do is you'll get a poll. Try to rank what do you think is the most important thing in your team first. Right? Starting from, I think this is the most important thing that my team needs to have, versus the least important thing that my team needs to have, or the least focus I will give my team. And while you're at it, people in the back, what I would like you to do is maybe stand up and then arrange yourself in a group of 7 in a circle or a semicircle. Can we do that quickly? Here as well, can you form a circle of 7? And then folks who have a table, try to be a group of 7. All right, look at you all taking action. The most exciting thing you've done today. A group of 7. 7 people. How many are you? 1, 2, 3, 4. You're 4? Do I have 3 people who can join this group? Group here. Need one more. How many are there? So they have 6. One can join here, one can join there. You need one more? One can join here, if you can. There. Right, people are still taking that. So while people are still taking that, what I want the groups to do is I need a volunteer from each group. Hands up who wants to volunteer. Okay, one. What's your name? Purnama on this table. And your name? There. Okay. There you're on that table. So Purnima, I need you to think of a food item and name your team that food item. right? Who's taking initiative? What's your name? Ronnie, you need to figure out a food item, and that's your team name. Discuss with the team and come up with the food item. All right, figure out a food name. Who's volunteering on that table? All right, you. And this table? All right, cool. Over there, do we have a volunteer who's taking the initiative to figure out the team name? Like, think of a food item, and that's your team name. Right? All right, cool. So everyone ready? Everyone knows who's leading? And you're happy with that leader and your team? Whatever happens, you need to blame that leader now. Think of a food item, and that's your team name. Okay, I think 28 out of 35 people have taken this. So the most important thing according to this room is clarity. Second is accountability. Third is impact, and fourth is psychological safety. That's a very, very interesting perspective of the room. Now that you have teams, what I would like you to do, and you have like a big sheet of paper, and if you don't have a big sheet of paper, ask for it. Look at the same thing, now discuss this as a team, and share your thoughts on why as a team. And imagine each of you as a team and talk through your main focus areas. And what I would like you to do as a team, as a table, come up with a priority as a collective. And then one of you will talk about why is that a priority for you as a team. Right? So we'll park 10 minutes for that. And if you need more time, we can do that. And I'll walk around. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Right? All right, let's do this. Okay. Question? So you've done that individually, right? So you think this is what I think should be the most important thing to me as a team. Now you have a team. How, if this was your team that you came into, and this was a studio that you got into, all new faces, this is the day one of your first job, let's say. How do you create that space for you where you say, okay, this is the most important thing for us as the team. This is something that we will not compromise on. And the last thing will be, this is something that we will try and work towards. Right? The same exercise that you did there, but you do it as a team. You need to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Write it down in this, or you want to use one sitting? Right on the back side. You can collect it. Assume that you work, all of you work for. Right. Assume that
All good? Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just have a question. So what is this like? Is this about the definition of the high performance?
Yeah, you're defining high performance for people you've never met before,
Okay.
you've never interacted before. And this is as a leader, when you come into a new team or you're joining a new team,
Okay.
you need to ask questions that will help you get to a place where you understand that. And most often in my situation where I've been, oh, if I was in that position, I would have not done this that way. So this is simulation of that, where you enter the team, where you see, okay, all of these folks are new. How can I, as an aspiring leader, step into this? You don't need a title to do this. This is an opportunity to simulate that.
We need to create a scenario and
No, you don't need to create scenario. You need to say, okay, what is the most important thing that you've done individually, and communicate to the rest of the team, and then see if they resonate with you. If they resonate with you, then you have the team's pulse, and you say, okay, that's the most difficult job to do as a leader, to get the team on board with, okay, I think this is the most important thing that we need to have in our team. While we've never interacted with each other, let's say, for example, clarity is what we should have in this team. And then someone else will say, no, I think I need to know who's accountable for the impact. Or someone else will say, okay, no, if it all doesn't matter, as long as we're not making money, none of these matter. So you need to come to a consensus with that.
as a team we need to choose from one of them.
No, you need to rank them.
Okay.
A team has all of those, but you're saying that, okay, this is the ranking of that, because you've done that individually, right? And now you're doing this as a team. So then you'll see what you thought as a team, you thought as an individual leader, versus what the rest of the team thinks, are completely different viewpoints. Either you change or you ask the team to change. So that is something that is a reflection of this. Yeah. All good on this table?
Clarity first, but I like your approach. Based on their availability, as well as some people might have a clarity or miscommunication initially, but in the results matter. Right? Because if they're able to work through these things, they'll be visible by the results. Tracking the results or getting that metric, as well as then making them appreciate that would be effective.
All good on this table? Okay.
For me, I would say so that is where the accountability came into place. But nobody I think we have to decide which one to go with. And the main ranking we have, I think clarity.
All good on this table?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clarity.
I see a lot of good discussions going on. You have try to wrap it up, try to come to a consensus, and form your ranking. And the volunteer of the table will announce their team name, the food name that you've chosen, and share their perspective on this. So we'll try to do this as quickly as possible.
Can I be a part of the session? If you can give me also one of the sheets.
Yes.
To achieve that
One
thing,
extra sheet. So we have a team of 7. So if you see someone who's 6, just join them. Yeah, you can join the.
Last one, last one.
Yeah.
Just come in without any context.
Okay.
Can give them a quick context.
Can switch off the mic. So. We. Thank you. Thank you. Uh, all right, we'll try to wrap this up. For the folks who just came in, take the time, listen to the rest of the groups. Any volunteers that are ready to go first? Anyone ready to go first? Who, you ready? All right, come. Can I have a mic? Right, so I have some Rovio swag. It's an Angry Birds pen. I got some swag. So I'm going to keep rewarding people who take initiative. Right, good job on that. Stand next to your team. This is no shape or form where you're trying to be the best speaker. All right. So if rest of the groups can pay attention to this group to hear them out of what their ranking is for a high performance team, and then maybe also self-reflect, maybe course correct. And this is what happens when you hear and talk to other teams. So basically, you're trying to simulate that. All right, Purnima, go ahead.
All right, hi guys, I'm Purnima. We are the team Podi Idli. We realized that we're a mix of people from the servicing industry as well as founders of startups. We've realized that this actually changes per situation as well. For example, for startups, it's critical that we have clarity first before we can give accountability and have psychological safety. But when it comes to, say, team dynamics, then psychological safety takes priority. And before we can give accountability and have team harmony, and if we're in the servicing industry, for example, then accountability comes first because the clarity is already been done by the client side.
Okay.
So that's how we discussed and decided.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Round of applause for Purnima for taking the initiative. Who's going next? All right, Ronnie. Right, you can stand there and then you can quickly share your ranking and then maybe a one line of why you think that is.
I'll start with the team name.
Yeah?
Okay. So we are 7 people, 7 slices of a pizza. So
Oh.
pizza. There was a bit of a debate between the second and third spot.
Okay.
We
What's the
stuck to
first?
Clarity.
Okay.
So the point is that if the team members, I mean, if they have a clarity on what they're supposed to do, they land in a particular psychological safety net where
Okay.
they feel that whatever they know as a particular professional, they can take a risk in that, and there is somebody else who is guiding them as a leader to take a fall for it maybe. So
Okay.
they have a kind of a safety net. And then comes the accountability part for us, where because they know what to do, and be it a developer or maybe an artist or whoever, they know what they're supposed to do. They take an accountability for it, and they'll be result driven in the end. So result comes in the end for us.
All right. So it's clarity.
Clarity, psychological safety, accountability, and results.
Okay. Right. Thanks for sharing that perspective. Who's going next? All right.
All right. Hi, we are Team Gulab Jamun.
Wow.
So while we think that all the 4 parameters are very important and they are basically 4 very important pillars to deliver high performance teams, the rating that we went by was clarity, because when you know what has to be done, when you know your agenda, it kind of defines the further process. The second that we've decided on is accountability, because that defines your who. You know what has to be done, you know who has to do what. The third that came for us was psychological safety. Reason being, when I have been assigned a task, do I feel comfortable with it or not? Do I feel that I will be able to voice my concerns? Will I be able to highlight risks? Will I be able to deliver the best possible that I can in that particular role and expectation? So just to voice that out and kind of the team coming together with a discussion point around that, so that we eventually move on to the 4th part, which is impact, and actually have a high delivering team.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. Round of applause for Team Gulab Jamun. Who wants to go next?
Hi, my name is Radhika. Okay, so again, there is not one answer.
The most important thing, your team name.
My team name is Mango.
Mango.
Okay, so like 7 people, different perspective, but of course. But the conclusion what we came to was the first 3 points which are laid out there, clarity, accountability, and impact, all are action based, so you cannot break them.
Okay.
And the fourth one is psychological safety. Now it works in a loop. Sometime it goes at the top, depends on the situation, depends on which department you're working on, the company size, and so on and so forth. And sometimes based on the task also it goes on the fourth level. So it's more like a loop which goes on. The more you deliver results, the more kind of an impact you see what you have delivered. Based on that, the safety net has been either broken or been extended. So that's why it's always a loop, at least that's what our understanding is.
Okay, so you don't have ranking, but everything works in a
Everything is
symbiotic.
connected with each other, yes.
Okay.
You cannot break that loop. That's the
Okay.
whole idea.
All right, that's a very interesting perspective, because when you enter a team setup like you did right now, you can't start with that as a team. Oh, everything is important. So when everything is important, then nothing is important.
Like I said, it depends and changes as per the situation.
Yeah.
However, it starts with clarity.
Okay.
So to answer your question, when we enter with the clarity, and then you get into the loop. But
Okay.
of course, you can't start in the loop from the beginning, right?
All right, so you would pick
yeah.
clarity as the first most thing that
Yeah,
when
so
you
as
enter.
it's
Okay.
been lined up in
Okay.
that fashion. Yeah.
All right, very interesting perspective. Thank you. Here, the team is ready here, Raj, at this table.
Good afternoon, everyone. My team is named Sakara Pongal after a festive sweet food made with rice here in Chennai, Tamil Nadu only.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Very interesting.
So, according to the large consensus of my team, first of all four of these factors are actually in an interlocked cycle that feed into each other, but still we have tried to rank them. So what we did was we did not go from top down. We went from bottom up. That what is of the least priority, and if the other factors can successfully affect the the impact of the one that is in the lower priority. So for my team, the most important is clarity. Considering the size of the group here and the general sizes of groups that are divided in a company, we went with clarity, because with clarity we will know that what is the responsibility of everyone, what is the role of every person, and how that person can help in our team. The second most thing is accountability. It means it follows after clarity. If you are clear about what your role is, what your responsibility is, then you know what you yourself are accountable for. Right? So after clarity and accountability, we think that psychological safety is the most important. Now it might seem like we are going in the exact order given in the list itself, but that is the consensus that we reached. That if you know what you are thinking, what you are accountable for, and if you are taking that accountability, then you will be much more encouraged to take risks, right? Because I know that I can complete this thing and I want to be held accountable for something that I could not do within my role. So I will be much more encouraged to take risk. And the last are the results. Because we believe that in a well-oiled machine where everyone is comfortable with each other, where the psychological safety is there, the results will come naturally. So
Okay.
that is what we think.
Thanks for sharing. Very complicated team name. I don't think I can do justice by repeating that, but thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can do one last team. A round of applause, yeah. One last team. Who wants to go? All right. Oh, maybe. We'll do with you last. All right.
Hi, we are Team Biryani.
Oh.
And so this is impact of a team. Let's define, give me a minute. Defining that is, it's measured over time. It's not measured in a week. It's not measured in 15 days, not measured in a month. Now, and therefore there are, it's a aggregation of results over this time. Given that, and a result is like you define a goal, at the end you get a result. Therefore, a team which comprises multiple people and everybody has some role to play in the result, it starts with clarity. Now, for free flows of ideas, I might be doing something wrong, the other person might be doing something wrong. We have to pool our ideas, we have to criticize each other, we have to come to we win as a team, we lose as a team kind of a thing. Therefore, what follows after it was psychological safety. But then everybody does have a role to play over there. And that's where accountability comes in. These things fall in line, we have a result. That's how we did it. Although I have to point out, we had a lot of discussion, we had a lot of disagreements. I don't think we all agree on this yet, but I think this is what the closest approximation of what we all think is.
You're representing biryani then. Right, cool. Thank you. It was a very detailed thought through. I'm happy that you had discussions and debates and challenged each other. So, while other groups are still discussing and have something that they want to share, I'll be here for the next 2 days. And we have one last group here that will go next. And then you also want to go? Okay, then you also want to go? Oh, I like volunteers. Initiative. All right, we'll do 4. We'll try to do it quickly, yes.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. We are Team Poha.
Oh.
And as everybody else said, like after hearing their opinions too, we have come to our conclusions as well. So clarity comes first. You want to understand what you need to do, what the goal is, and what you want to achieve, and how much time you want to achieve, for example. And after that, you go for the accountability. Like people come up and say, oh, I'm a game designer, I'm a level designer, I'm a programmer. Okay, so then you know that this guy does that, this guy does that. So you give them certain tasks. And then the first round of doing anything in a group is an experiment. You try to understand what this person can do, what that can do. So that kind of fits into the psychological aspect as well, that they can take risks and they can, do mistakes. And then there should be one game director who, overlooks everyone and tries to understand, okay, who can do what and who can do what. And then through that, they can come up with a better plan of, oh, you can do animation better as well and blah, blah, blah. And so it kind of helps to understand the team. So your psychological safety and accountability together, when combined, you need to understand your team better. And as everybody else said, that when you understand the team better and it's a happy go place, you come into a flow state of working together and you achieve the best result that you can. Okay. So that's what we think.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
You went deep into clarity and accountability. I like that. Okay. Who's the next group that's ready? We'll come to you.
I think I'm just sharing a perspective.
Is that your team's perspective too?
We are trying to reach upon it. We have reached upon it, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I would say the most important is clarity. That everybody needs to know what is the goal and what is the outcome we are running towards. The second thing, just a second, is psychological safety. So that whether senior or junior, a person can say his mind. It should not be that one person stifles the voices of 4 other people for the sake of personal glory, and the others later say that no, but I felt differently, nobody listened to me, that's why we failed. So psychological safety is important, because otherwise people will not feel a sense of ownership if they feel their voices have been suppressed. The third is results. That many times, and this third and fourth, it depends on, it can be 2 different situations depending on the type of project. So if there's a project which has high uncertainty and it's like maybe never been done and you are doing from 0 to 1, then results and celebration are important, because in the beginning you might not even have clarity on what are the tasks that add up to what goals. You know the big picture goal, but the minute small picture goals might be getting discovered along the way, and if results are celebrated, then it makes sure that everybody feels a sense of happiness that they are contributing to the team success and they are recognized, rather than it being said that this is not your job, this is this job, and this is not my job, this is his job. And then is accountability in a 0 to 1 type of project. On the other hand, if there is a stable and known kind of situation where stability and efficiency are important and uncertainty is low, then accountability is at 3, that you should know who to blame if things don't happen, and everybody has to shoulder the things they are accountable for, and celebration then will become 4th.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Yeah, thanks. Again, that's what 10 minutes of conversation did, right? So, good job on that. Who's next? The team in the corner. And then we'll wrap it up with that team. Is there anyone else left to go? Just this team, right? Okay, we'll finish with that team.
So, good afternoon. For us, it's actually psychological safety because...
Important thing, your team name.
Samosa. Team Samosa.
Team Samosa.
Yeah. We chose psychological safety because, as the brief say, it wants high performance. Without a team that has like psychological safety around each other, we won't ever get high performance. We did have a conversation between clarity and psychological safety. We didn't choose clarity, for me that is, was because clarity is not always defined. It always changes day after day, project after project, and even the same project that you're doing, it doesn't have any clarity until the end. There's always unclarity that's going on, more than clarity. And then third comes accountability. With clarity, accountability will come after all. And with psychological safety, accountability will come, and results is what matters the most. But it goes in the end because it comes in the end.
All right, thank you for sharing that perspective. And you're the last team to go? All right, let's do this quickly. And the team before that, what was your name? No, the team name. All right, you figured it out. We'll come to that. Let's start with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My team name is Pulihora. I think Telugu people knows well what is Pulihora.
Lemon rice.
And our team members, we have decided one thing. Everyone learns from their mistake now. So psychology safety is more important first. So when we take risks, we'll know what are the metrics we have to do. And then the accountability. When we know the mistakes, we'll get to know what to do and who to do. So every team members get to know what's their capabilities and all. So then the clarity. When they get the clarity, they can know what's the main goal and what's the last one to do and to get the success. So then automatically the result is last. Outracked celebrations are there.
Right. Cool.
So I think first psychology safety is more important than anything, to take the risk and get to know all.
All right. Thank you, Team Pulvera, for sharing the perspective. Round of applause for everyone for taking that initiative, doing things, maybe talking to a crowd like this, maybe the first time that you've ever done it in such a big setting. So that takes courage. So applause to every one of you. All right, so that's a very good reflection. I also want to share a reflection by a very big company. Anyone from Google here? All right, so Google did this big study, and this doesn't work. All right, okay, it's here. It's not showing up there. Go back. The slide after this. Just click next. Yeah, next. Yeah, so Google did a very big study that span across 20 years. And this was from all different types of teams. Teams that were very new, teams that were small, teams that were big, teams that were having small impact versus big impact, technical teams, non-technical teams. Again, this was across 20 years that they did this research with, if I remember correctly, is that 180 teams. And what they found out was, and by the way, this is available, this research is available on web. Look for Project Aristotle, that's what they call it. And they found out that the most important thing for a high performing team, as two of the teams have kind of identified, is psychological safety. Google also says in that report that if you are able to create an environment where everyone feels heard, everyone knows that they have a space where they can express their opinions without being judged, that is one of the key things that defines what a high performing team is. While we heard different perspectives, and I think some of the groups also mentioned that it changes based on where you are in your process of forming a team, forming a studio, working with a client, and all of you are right. And even Google is right. Google has a different way of looking at it, but this is a huge data set that spans across 20 years. Right? If there is anything that I take out of this, is when I enter a team, I try to create an environment of listening to them without passing judgments, without having any biases, which is very difficult to do when you're entering a team, saying that, oh, this thing never works, so I don't think we should worry about this. Oh, that team had tried this, we should replicate that as soon as possible, or else we'll lose out the market. And in that process, what happens is you miss out on hearing the teams out, right? So that kind of takes us to the next situation that we always face, is the player first culture. We always talk about, oh, culture is the most important thing. And culture is supposed to serve the teams, culture is supposed to serve the players, it's supposed to take the company forward, but how do we do that? Right? For me, the most important thing when I enter a team or a company is, how do we want to make our players feel? So let's do this exercise. And before we start this exercise, what I want to do is share a story. When I was the head of prototyping at Rovio, our job was to make prototypes as soon as possible, play test them as soon as possible, get some insights from the team of 80 people in the studio, and get some conviction, and then go to the next stage. So what we did when we were doing this is, on the screen that you see on the left was done in a day, right? We said, okay, this is the most innovative thing that we want to build, and that's like the base prototype that we created. And then said, okay, we played it within our team and said, okay, this looks good, this feels good, we should move on to the next stage. And then from there we said, okay, what if this was an RPG game? So this basic mechanic is the sword would go around and then you need to tap at the exact time when it hits the pie. If you hit the blue pie, you deal damage. If you hit the red pie, it deals critical damage because it's like the chances are too low. And the speed of the sword changes based on where you are in the journey. And that was our thesis. And then we said, okay, what if we actually showed bosses, we showed like some RPG elements, would that be nice? If we did that, we play tested within ourselves and said, oh, this feels good, we should definitely try and do that. And then we said, okay, now it's a prototype, let's add some flavor to it. Then we got art into right now the first two stages were all dev art, picking from wherever previous art we had. We moved on to the next stage, which is like, okay, let's add some perspective into this. Where is this happening? Give us a sense of where the world is and what the world is like. And from there, we moved on to the final stage of conviction, which is like, oh, let's add an enemy that actually fits in where the market is, right? Like we see a lot of RPG games, and we at Rovio at that point of time, we said, okay, how do we make innovation? How do we diversify? How do we do things that we've never done before? And then the job of prototyping team was to think of crazy ideas. And that's why that mechanic kind of is really, really important. So what I would like you to do is I'll give you some handouts. No, not this handout. So you have, use the paper that you have, flip it. What I would like you to do is quickly, in a matter of 2 minutes, think of a player journey for the first 3 days of the game that you played. What did you like and what you liked? And what would you have done for that specific game that you have in mind? Take a few minutes, do that. Now. So think of a game that you've played and draw a player journey saying, okay, on first day, this is what I want the game to look like. On the second day, this is what the game should feel like. On third day, this is what the game should feel like. Right? Design that. If you're not a designer, don't think of it as a designer, think of as a player. Right? It doesn't have to be structured. It could just be like, oh, I would want to see the core mechanic in the first day. The second day, I want to see something new. Third day, I want to see something else. Right? So do that. We'll come to a reflection point on this. When you play a game, think of a game that you really like. Do it this individually, not as a team right now. Think of a game that you really like and see what got you to day 1, day 2, and day 3. Yeah, what was that? All right, while you're doing that, let me move on to the next part of it. So what happened when we did this, right? So I don't think we'll have time for this. We'll move on to the next bit, which we will be reflecting on. So where did that go? Right, so when we did this, so we moved on to the next stage, which was, oh, this looks and feels really, really good. Let's bring in more people to do this and take this forward. So we took that prototype and then moved from one stage to another stage, very similar format, went on doing this. We got to a stage where the game looked like this and we released the game and players hated it. They just said, this is not the game that we want to play. And our reflection of that was that we were working on this with our own assumptions, with our own tunnel vision, thinking about this is what we think players wanted versus actually understanding what players wanted. And we not communicate with even within our team. So now that you have a reflection of what that is when you worked on that journey, I would like what each table to and each team leader to come up with a game, and then as a team quickly write 3 bullet points of what that ideal journey would look like, and do it as a team now. The same exercise, but do it as a team.
Means the prototyping stage or like the releasing stage?
we talking from the student's perspective, like the game builder's perspective, or the player's perspective?
So, reverse engineering. All right, any team ready to share their reflection? Maybe we'll do two teams. Any team who wants to volunteer to share their perspective? Yeah. All right, take 2 minutes and then I'll nudge in 2 minutes again.
I somehow have played this past year. And the thing I really liked in that really is starting with a story. So, unlike if you remember Call of Duty Modern Warfare, like the really start, they throw you into a training area, they show tutorial. That feels like a chore. But the, this Honkai Star Rail or whatever these games are, they introduce you with the story. So the mechanics of the game, they teach you along with the gameplay. So they. What do you expect in the second build? In the third build, what do you expect? So this is a prototype. This is more like a alpha. So now the now the 450 plus this one. My question is, like a difficulty, like progression of a difficulty or
Do you already have a team? Right, you ready? You ready to share? Right, we have our first volunteer ready to share. So what I would like you to do is share your reflection on how was the difference when you did it individually, and then what changed when you did it as a team.
So I think now we are half-eaten pizza because one of our team members is left. So
Half? He took away half of you?
small piece. Yeah. So I think when first we did, the whole activity, it was more or less the same. First thing is, it comes to understanding the gameplay and is it fun or not, so that I can come back the next day. So after that is the, repeating the same thing and again and again. The second day. And the third day is what new things can I find and the rewarding system. So I think it was more or less the same, but the way we put it was different. But I think all of us were on the same lines.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks for sharing that perspective. Very interesting that how you did it individually and how you did it as a team did have an impact. So it's always good to kind of take that approach. The next team, Mr. Ajay Khara.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. We have a game just that we thought about. It's going to be a match 3 with jinx of cricket. So on the bottom side, you do match 3, and on the top side, there is a game called you see actual cricket ground and players playing in it.
You
And
don't talk
based
to
on
the hit wicket team. They're somewhere here.
yeah, and yeah, so on the first day, like it would be onboarding and FTOE. You'll learn the game mechanics, and once you do that, there comes the OCR objective, challenges and rewards. And based on the objectives and the rewards, the loop continues.
How did it change? How did the conversation when you did it as an individual versus when you did it as a team? What was your reflection?
It was like I just came up with the idea and then I discussed with the team and the producers here, the Darshan, Yudhavendra, they said like how the co-look should work, and it definitely added a lot of like what is the what would the player journey would look like, and what are the goals that we should achieve with this title. And in initial 7 days, whatever we run and whatever the metrics that we observe, right? We can figure out like is it going to be a hit or not.
Okay, cool. Thanks. That's a really good reflection of how when you worked as a team, you also thought about other things that are outside the player journey that could impact what you want to do as a player journey. So that's a really good reflection. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue the discussion. We'll keep continuing the discussions on this part. But I think the reflection here is always the players are the center of the world when we are in this gaming industry, and always good to think about players' perspective. Again, it's not just enough to think from a player's perspective, it's also more important to communicate what that player first culture is. And that happens by talking about your own perspective, because every one of you comes from a different background, different set of challenges, different viewpoints, different experiences, different preferences of what games that you have played, and communicating that, putting that out on the table helps you unlearn. Saying that, okay, I might have been wrong in this scenario, and that's a very good perspective. And that's part of leadership. A big part of leadership is not about learning stuff, rather unlearning stuff that you've already subconsciously like, oh, this is how things used to work, so this is how things will work. And by talking about it as a team, you kind of do that. And each one of you who takes that ownership of even thinking that, okay, I should put this in front of people who might be much smarter than me, who might be different opinionated from me, who might have different perspectives, that will help me grow, is also one step towards you becoming a better leader. So that is one of the biggest reflection when you communicate from a context point of view. So that brings us to the second segment, and after this I promise we'll take a small break. I hope you come back after the break, because that's where I'll talk about the frameworks that I use. See, that's where I just did a hook. I learned from TikTok. You have to give a hook or else no one will come back. Right, so to build diverse team, the hook. I said there's something happening in the end that's more interesting. The hook. Right, so to build diverse teams, diverse games, we need diverse teams. And what you just showcased to me, or at least what I saw, was from the first activity, while psychological safety was the first thing, everyone here exercised psychological safety without even talking about it, because you took the initiative to hear everyone out. you created that space for people to share their opinions. Subconsciously, that has become the biggest thing. And then you said, we have psychological safety, now let's talk about clarity. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but you all exercise psychological safety. And because you had psychological safety, you were able to talk about clarity. Right? So my input there is start with psychological safety, create an environment where you are inviting people to share. And when you share it with a perspective and a context where you're coming from. And always try to put the context on the table and be open to changing your opinions and your way of looking at things when you're actually setting up, getting up for a situation like one of the simulations that we did. So, inclusion and collaboration is another key thing that I like to focus on. So I'll give you again an example here, story time, which is when I was at Rovio, I had this designer. She was amazing, and she was brilliant, and we ended up making more creative choices because of her input. But this is not how she started. So when she came into the team, it was a very different culture. It was not as inclusive as I would have liked it to be, as in hindsight. And when she came in and she said that after we did a sprint planning meeting and then we did a brainstorm, and then once the brainstorm ended, I noticed she was very quiet and she didn't say a single word during the session. And after the meeting happened, she messages me on Slack like, hey Mozzy, I actually had like 3 brilliant ideas. She didn't say brilliant, but I thought they were brilliant. I have these 3 ideas I just wanted to share with you. I think, why didn't you share it when we were actually doing the brainstorm? No, I think people were talking, were very passionate. I couldn't find time to, talk about it and present my ideas. So I'm sharing it with you. No, and that's where it impacted me to a point where I felt inclusion is not a policy, it's a behavior. And a behavior is something that, again, when you're full of passion, and we are game developers, we are always full of passion, we like to share our ideas very passionately. And we sometimes forget to give space to people who are very quiet. And in my experience, being an introvert and being surrounded by introverts, they're one of the most creative people that I've encountered because they're full of ideas. In fact, they're so full of ideas, they don't have time to jot it down in some cases. So I think this is one of the biggest reflections that I've had working with creative people and people who tend to be shy, tend to be, silent. I think it's always kind of good exercise, a good practice to give them that voice, give them that platform by not saying, hey, do you have any ideas to share? But just keeping it open-ended if anyone wants to share any ideas. So what I did during this time was, as a reflection and as the feedback that I got. So every time we did a brainstorm, I said, okay, before we start the brainstorm, I would like each and every one of you to write down 3 points that are very passionate that you want to do with this concept that you're working on. So that everyone wrote these 3 things down and we moved those things around the table and everyone got to see what everyone had to say. And that kind of encouraged people to do that. At least that's what I did. Maybe you do it differently. Maybe your challenges are completely different. But try to give voices to the quiet corners in your team. And then you'll be very surprised that some of these ideas, and what happened to that designer, the 3 ideas, 2 of them made incredible amount of impact from a place perspective and from a business perspective. And if it had not been for those 2 ideas, we would not have made those impacts. Right? I think that's a very humbling thought. And also, when you're thinking about this as a leadership opportunity, you're in the service industry. You're here to serve your team, your people, your player. And you do that by giving them a platform to share their opinions and share their ideas. So, can we start the Menti? There, please. Right, so think of your team. I just want to get a poll of from you to say how good you think your team or your studio is currently doing when it comes to inclusivity. We already have 2 yeses. All right. So no's are taking over. I know yeses are still leading. So good to see that you and your teams in your current organization, in your current studios, at least like 9 people said yes and 5 people said no. I hope after this you get a chance to talk about this in your teams, in your current setup, to see how you want to bring about that change and how you want to even have the difficult conversations with people that would bring about this change in your current ecosystem. All right, so the next topic, we'll move on to emotional intelligence. Can you go back to that slide, please? So, show of hands, how many of you want a break? All right, fine, we'll take a quick 5-minute break, a wellness break. Go do your thing and come back, because I have like 4 leadership handouts that I would like to share with you, the frameworks that I've used, and then we'll do a fun activity once you're back.
All right, everyone, we will resume the workshop. Okay, over to Mozzy.
Cool. All right, everyone should have a set of these 6 leadership frameworks that I've used. We'll come to that. Before we get into it, I would like to cause a bit of inconvenience to all of you, which is I want all the foodies to sit next to a food that you have not sat next to, and each table should be a unique food item. So rearrange yourself so that when you sit down, you're sitting next to a different food item, right? And then no one food item should repeat on your table, right? Yeah, find a new team. Done? All right. Find a person that you have not sat with. Find a different food item. And make sure that you don't have same person from your team in that table. Right? Cool. Everyone settled? Maybe three of you can join this table. Yeah, you can join this table, I think. People in the back, if you want to participate, you can still come forward and join the other teams. Or if you want to just be audience, that is also fine. Okay, good. Right, when you can join that team. All right, while this is happening, so we spoke about inclusion. Now you have a very, and then before inclusion, we spoke about diversity. Now you have a new team. You'll have to start from psychological safety, clarity, everything that you wanted in your previous teams. Now you have a new team. And we spoke about diversity of choice or diversity of opinions and different perspectives. We spoke about player culture, what happens when you think about player first culture, what happens when you think about players from your own perspective and how that definition changes when you're in a team setup. And inclusion, and as we said, inclusion is not a policy, it's a behavior. What I would like you to do now that you have like a very new, unique opportunity with a different team, and then we'll have, I think we have enough teams there, so each one of you can present. Maybe think of 2 to 3 behaviors that you've seen in your teams that have made other people feel inclusive, right? And then share that across the table and try to come up as 2 to 3 things that make the teams feel inclusive. And maybe, and then we'll talk and share with the rest of the room. Right? Any questions? No? All right, let's do it. And you also, you might be wondering, there are like colored pages in front of you with different matrices. So we'll come to that. That's the leadership framework that I have used. There's all those 6 pages, the Pareto principle, the Eisenhower matrix, and then we'll talk about that. And I think that's the part where, you know, post this workshop, I'm happy to help you use this in different scenarios. And then maybe I'll pick one that's very close to me, and then we'll talk through that. But we have our first group who's ready to share. Who's coming from this group? It's a safe space. No one's judging anything. Use this as an opportunity to talk. If you've not spoken before, give opportunity to voices that are very quiet.
Okay, go ahead. So oh sorry. So we discussed few points among ourselves. Everybody came up with their one-word answers, like empathy, listening skills, respect, trust, acknowledgement, appreciation, and so on. And I think most of us agree that empathy is one characteristic that needs to be displayed to the other person in order to kickstart the next process, like listening to someone. Because if you lack empathy, then there is a very good chance that you might be lacking the other characteristics as well. And I think that's our answer.
Cool. Thank you. So this group thinks that empathy is the most important thing. Anyone else ready to share? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we discussed, like a couple of behaviors. One which all of us had in common and agreed upon. I think two of them are asking for opinions and listening without interruption. Right. So we have segregated that into one because it is listening as a theme, and the second one was. Spending time together, like laughing on certain thing, or appreciation, acknowledging others and appreciating them for the work that they've done, or giving others credit for, like you did for your teammate who couldn't speak up in a meeting but the ideas were important, so giving credit, right? That is a micro action which can help build make people feel included. And yeah, the other thing that there are two other things that we had. One was the acts of helping people, because invariably people get stuck, and even though we may or may not know the solution, but the act of coming together and trying to solve a problem, even for a small amount of time, that can help build bonds and make them feel like they're not stuck and they're part of the team. So we are also trying to solve it. And one more important point is like retrospective as a activity. So these are four things, I guess.
Very interesting. Very different from this group. And you bonded on your common pain points and you said, okay, this is how we avoid those common pain points that we have. Very interesting. This group wants to go next.
Okay, I had said that celebrating and appreciating people's willingness to contribute beyond what is written or sort of put on their shoulders, celebrating and appreciating that can also lead to inclusivity. Because there may be a guy from a very different culture or a different religion or a different background who cannot socialize much with the team. He may not even speak the language or share their traditions, but he may be going out of the way to make the workplace more comfortable and better, and trying to help and do things beyond his contribution. So if you appreciate and celebrate that, no matter the background of the person, then even people who don't normally socialize or share social ties, customs, traditions, language with the rest of the team, they will feel included, and the team will also say ki, "Ha, bhai, you are also, yes, bro, you are also our guy, and you are also pouring yourself into it." Because if there is a culture of appreciation and celebration, then automatically that culture seeps into every member of the team. That somebody who's judgmental and who wants to go with the flow, if there's a culture of arguing and blaming, he will blame more. If there's a culture of celebrating and appreciating, he will start taking the lead in catching people doing something right and good and celebrating it. So just a thought.
Thank you. One personal reflection on that. Once he was talking, I had to learn it the most awkward way when I moved to Scandinavia. It's very common that as a man, I always have that. I used to have the bro culture, right? Like, dude, what's up, dude? Like, bro, let's go, bro. And it was a very humbling fact to know when my very good friend, who was the HR at Rovio, took me to the corner of the room and said, change the way you talk when you're facing the team. Because when you say he, and then when you use genders when you're communicating with a wider group, you unconsciously exclude the rest of the group, right? Because you have a very diverse group now in this day and age with their different personalities, different temperaments, different orientation. So inclusion is not just how you think about inclusion, but also about how you communicate inclusion. It's the language that you use. Because if you have good intentions, but you use non-inclusive language, then you're doing more harm than good. So good that you brought it up, because for me it was a personal reflection. I had to, like, now every time I don't say, I say hey folks, I say hey team. So that changed, and I also got like good and constructive feedback about, hey, there are also women in the team. When you say use a one specific pronoun, and by using one specific pronoun, you exclude the rest of the team, right? Then you're siding with one. So I just thought that was very interesting to share. So also exercise that inclusive language and not just inclusive behaviors. Right? Anyone else?
Like, in a similar note, I used to own a property, and but once the next door neighbors who came, they were dogs. So, you have to go beyond he, she, and say them.
Yeah.
Not because you are being woke, but just out of respecting the presence and the existence that these people are also there, and you just respect that.
Yeah. Just use inclusive language. I mean, you don't have to go into specifics, but make sure everyone feels heard, and then language actually matters. And especially when you're working with international studios, uh, they assume that you already know this. And when you use non-inclusive language, that also becomes like, hey, we're not going to work with that team, or we're not going to work with, and they'll never tell you this. Because feedback is gold, and very few people have the courage to give feedback. It takes a lot of courage to give feedback, and they don't have time, they don't have patience to give any of us that feedback. And this is like the first hand account of what happened to me. As I had again, how Raju said, I got lucky with the type of mentors and people that I came across. They were more than willing to give me feedback, but not a lot of people will do that. They silently exclude you, and you'll not even know why. That could be as simple as non-inclusive language.
I just want to add to it, Mozzy. Sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
sure, good.
Yeah. I just sat at this table as an observer. I'm sorry for the team. So I noticed few things which are very, very interesting. I read the micro actions, and then that's what kind of triggered. I said, okay, let me sit down and observe, right? So there were a lot of small talks it began with. Okay. We do it in everyday life. And why do we do it? At least to build a connection, that initial connection. That's one good behavior, one micro action that we did. Okay. Many times we are told that in a corporate life or whatever, in a professional life, you shouldn't do too much of small talk, right? But bear in mind that the situation was that many of you were, or all of you were new to each other. It's important that you do small talk. Okay, it builds connection. Once it builds connection, of course, it leads to, many inclusive behaviors. Okay, thanks team for that.
Cool. All right, so let me move on to the next topic, which is emotional intelligence, and then maybe we'll do an exercise with 2 volunteers to begin with. So emotional intelligence is a very important thing and also a thing that we don't actually pay attention to. This comes into play when you have to give very difficult feedback, when you have to manage a very awkward situation, when you like have to call someone out on their behavior, and you have to, again, like this group said, empathy is what is really, really important in that scenarios. So what we will try and do is can I have 2 volunteers? This is, this one? So can I have 2 volunteers? Just a call out, this will be the most awkward thing that you might have done. Of course, it's not be embarrassing, this is a safe space, but it will be awkward. I would really appreciate if 2 introverts stand up and then, yeah? Who else? I need 2. Okay, so I have 4. So why don't you come up here, and then why don't you, and then we'll do the next with both of you. And then what I would like the rest of you to do is observe what's happening and do a reflection of how that plays out. Okay? So you're the manager and he missed the deadline. Yes. And you're supposed to let him know that this has happened and what has impact of that been of missing that window. Right? So
My name is Nalin. You are meet.
and rest of you observe how the conversation plays out, and then we'll talk about it a little later. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nalin. It has come to my attention that you have missed the deadline on submitting the latest prototype on a game that we are developing. So I just wanted to say that due to this, the next sprint will have a much more backlog, and your team might need to do overtime. So I just wanted to ask if there are any specific reasons due to which this happened.
No specific reasons. I take ownership and responsibility, and I'm to blame, and I apologize for the inconvenience, and I'm willing to face the consequences.
Right. So while your accountability is praiseworthy, it is a fact that you did miss the deadline, and the others might need to do overtime. So I hope you are comfortable with letting your team know that your team will be staying back for the next few days.
I think before you say that I should tell this to my team, the language in which you phrased it is that it has come to my attention, right? So you are part of the team as the manager. It's not like you are some king in a high castle who gets told by his criers who climb the stairs of the castle, right? So why don't you also join us in the team meeting, and you can share that perspective. And just like I've taken accountability, I would be happy to take accountability there also. But I mean, like, this thing that it has come to my attention might be too indirect, because if somehow the message has not percolated to the team, maybe your participation in conveying that message will help the team become more cognizant. I'm not trying to dodge a responsibility, but just, sometimes an expert from outside the context pushing the same message forward causes people to get the message again from a perspective that they have not been able to grasp till now.
Right. This is also a valid point, right?
Right. Cool. Thanks for that. Give a big round of applause for both of them. You stay. You observe. Let me try and repeat this, and then you have 2 examples of how it was done, and then you can reflect on this. And feel free to grab the mic and share your opinion on it. Right. So Nalin and I entered the room. So, hi Nalin, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. How's everything going within the team?
It's good.
Right. Are you aware about how things are playing out in the team and what has been happening recently?
You could stress upon the specific points of awareness that you'd like to bring up.
All right. I would love to have a very difficult conversation with you. Is this the best time to have this conversation with you?
Sure, why not?
All right. So I'll come to the facts, right? We have come to a situation where we have missed the deadline. And as a team, we are in a situation where we might have to do things that we have not done before, like, to compensate for that. And I would like to be in a position where you and I are aligned that we have missed something, and we also would like to work towards making sure that we can compensate with our client to say, have that conversation, hold ourselves accountable, and share that perspective with the team, and then do a proper, thorough retro, root cause analysis of why that happened so that we don't repeat that. But before that, we take accountability, and then, together we can approach the situation. How would you feel about that?
Sure, let's go ahead and let's do it.
Yeah, so before doing that, what I would like to do is give you some time to think about this and do your bit of searching and researching about this incident that has happened. And then let's reconnect maybe tomorrow, and so that you had enough time to kind of think about it and then do your proper conversations with the team, and then let's reconnect. How do you feel about
Sure,
that?
that's good, let's do it.
All right, so let's meet tomorrow then.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, cool. All right, so you've had two examples. What I would like you to do is maybe reflect on how the first conversation went. Really good job.
Thank you.
And how the second conversation went. While both of them were not perfect, but you had two different examples of how it could have been done, how emotional intelligence would have played a key role in communicating the same thing and sharing accountability in that sense. Anyone would like to reflect on that? Yes. Yeah, before that, I want to give you this cap from King, if you want, because you've been very proactive in taking initiative, and yeah, but that's still, second time counts too. More than once is always good. So keep doing that more.
Thank you. Thanks for the cap. So what I observed is in the first instance, we just dived head on and hit the bullet and kind of been blunt, if I can say so. And in the second one, we approached it more nuanced, like first started with a small talk / asked how he was doing, etc. And then proceeded to establish a common ground and sort of what I observed from here is that we did not directly give out that we have missed the deadline, but kind of try to arrive at a why we missed the deadline, and thus from the reasoning we try to arrive at the derivation, which is basically that we did miss the deadline, and as a consequence we will as a team need to do something. And one more very interesting factor that I will take as a takeaway is that we did not rush into further conversation, but instead we have given some time to reflect upon, because that's something the other person needs to think about. So that's something new that I have observed.
Well, thank you for that reflection. Anyone else? Yep, go ahead.
So in both the situations, the first one, like you said, was quite blunt, on the face. Second one was more sugar-coated. I think, as per me, it should be quite straightforward, but not rude. Saying straight up that, hey, we missed something. What was the issue? How do we fix it next time so that we don't do it again? I think it should be as simple as that.
Yeah.
So that the other person should not feel that it's okay to do it again, because whatever industry you work on, service-based or not, it's very important to understand that something was missed last time for some reason. We don't repeat it again. Else, if everything gets sugar-coated or on the face, then there's a lot of conflicts that might come across. Because next time you may not sugar-coat it and the other person might not take it well. Conflict again. So keep it straightforward. We missed something. Why? What can we do to improve it? That's it. I think more than these three questions, I don't think it should go beyond.
Okay, that's a good reflection. Yeah.
I think if this exercise of blame fixing and communication was a longer with side goals and side benefits. That one person is told that, look, you will get 10 points if you can avoid ABC, you will get 20 points if you can do this and 30 points for that. Then people will be more cunning and less straightforward in the replies they give. So even if I am a person of good work ethic, but I have some personal loss or personal vested interest in not admitting to it or not buying to it, then it would get more tricky. And in the real life, people always have some or the other vested interest beyond their own willingness to communicate or their sense of character. I mean that's my experience based on whatever I've seen.
Thanks. Harish?
So this is very interesting to me, watching this.
Okay.
Because my experience probably comes from Mo's experience, because I come from abroad. So looking at the two different interactions, seeing the first one is very personal and very direct, which is interesting because I feel like probably it's more of an India side kind of like dynamic. And it's very direct, but it can also be very off-putting and also demotivating for that person. So one of the things that we know about team dynamics on your second one, when you did it, is more about using specific language. Like even when you said, are you okay if we have a difficult conversation? Now the person may or may not be honest in that point, but at least there's an actual pause to say like, we're gonna have a difficult conversation right now. And these are subtle things, but I think they're really important things because when you give people the space to actually at least, even if they're, okay, look, give it to me straight. I wanna know it right now. The psychological dynamics of how we are, just as people, are that we may be saying that because we're just in this kind of like maybe fight or flight mechanism because of our upbringing, lots of different psychological factors, but we're actually not ready for that. So it's important for us to actually understand that like using language like this, whether you want it direct or not, having a manager or a person of authority to give that kind of space at least allows the person that's receiving it to have an option and a choice, and it makes a huge difference. And I'm only speaking from my own perspective. And of course, from my perspective, I've managed people that actually are completely different spectrum, right? Multiple different personalities, different kinds of like backgrounds and things. So it is a very important thing because what we communicate, also we don't want to allow that bad feeling to go on. Let's say the next cycle comes up and they feel like a little bit kind of beaten down, they may not give as much effort next time. So we all have to be careful about like what that languaging is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good reflection. And also, if folks who don't know here, Harish here has been a veteran in the industry, has been around for a very long time. And when a reflection of that sort comes from him, I think we all should hear and we should all listen and take into account because at some point we all here will interact with people with different cultures, different nationalities, and have international teams come into your team and work with that. And this becomes really important where they kind of psychologically decide if this is the team that we want to transition the game to, or give a very challenging project to. Do they have that mindset? Do they have that emotional intelligence to carry a creative team forward when you're doing that transition? I think at least that is where I would try and focus on that. Right, I would have wanted to do another one, but we're running out of time, and some of the ladies here have said they wanted to go to the Women in Games as well. I would not hold you up, so moving on to the leadership side of things. I'll try to make it really, really quick.
Roughly how much more time it will take?
I'll try to take another 15 minutes maybe. I had so many things that I wanted to cover, but I think the session started late. Let me move on to, the break was supposed to happen here.
Your slides are really interesting.
Right, the break was supposed to happen right here. So this was all the content that I had planned, but I think the high performance where we spend a lot of time, I think that was really, really important. So let me tell you a story that I think is very, very important that I learned the hard way. Have you heard about the lumberjack parable? Anyone?
That if I have 6 hours to cut a tree, I'll spend 5 hours sharpening that.
Yeah. So, and then because he spoiled the story, which is good, you know the story, but I'll anyway tell the story, but I'll do a different reflection. So there's this lumberjack parable where two lumberjacks work for the same time from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and one lumberjack goes away for 1 hour in the forest and the other guy doesn't know where he's gone. And at the end of the month, end of the day, the lumberjack who took a break ended up cutting more wood than the lumberjack who worked from 9 to 6 non-stop. And this lumberjack got really curious, like, hey, where do you keep disappearing for 1 hour every single day? And how come you end up cutting more wood than me? So he said, yeah, I take that break to sharpen my axe for 1 hour and then come back. So I think I never had that mindset about doing that self-reflection of where I want to be, what do I want to do, and how do I sharpen my skills. It's only because I always had very productive conversations with my mentors where they say, okay, why do you want to do what you want to do? Is it because the next promotion? Is it because you want to work on a different game? So they help me refine my core, like what is you without your titles? What are you without your games? And then that helped me realize that I'm not in it for the titles. I'm not in it for the glory. In fact, when someone comes to me from a production team and they say like, hey, what do you think about production? I think my first go-to answer to them is production is basically the gutter of game development, right? You have to have that janitor mindset that you are there to clean up mess. If you don't go in with that mindset, you end up having different expectations. So when you enter with that expectation, I'm not saying you should, but that helped me get my compass right. Okay, I'm not in this for glory, I'm not in this. So I'm in this to make people do their best jobs ever, right? And how do I do that? By all the frameworks that I've shown you. And I'll tell you another story that I really, really like. I don't know if you've heard about this. Simon Sinek says this story about the bagel story. Anyone has heard about the bagel story?
The what story?
The bagel?
Beagle.
Bagel. It's like the bread that's round with the circle. It looks like a donut. Yeah. So the story goes that he and his friends went out for a marathon. And at the end of the marathon, when you complete a marathon, their sponsors there by at the finish line, they're serving free bagels to everyone who wants it. So he goes and tells his best friends and like, hey, free bagels. And then his friend says, did you see the line? It's huge. And Simon Sinek says, free bagel? It's like, nah, I don't want it. Come on, free bagel. And he says, no. And then what he says that there are two kinds of people. One who says bagel, that's free bagel. And the second type of person is always talking about the thing that's stopping them from getting the bagel. It's just that perspective. So what Simon Sinek does is goes in the crowd and takes two bagels from the stall and gives it to his friend. And the reflection that he has is leadership is about getting what you want without taking away someone's right of getting what they want. So in that process, he never obstructed someone from getting their bagel, but he got his bagel. And that's what I think leadership is also about. A part of leadership is about getting what you want without taking away someone's right of getting what they want. You can't be stepping on someone else to get to where you want to be. Right? So you have a couple of frameworks in front of you, the colored frameworks. So, and then you have that sheet which is handout 3. Right? You have the handout 3. Right, so this is the leadership skill matrix and career growth mapping. What I would like you to do is on a scale of 1 to 5, prioritize, like give your ranking of how good I am in this space as a leader. And then also the career growth mapping of what my current role is, where my next milestone is, and what will enable you to grow to that next milestone. And what is the first step that you want to take this month to get there? Right? So try and do that very quickly, and then maybe we'll have 2 people share their journey. And like I said, when you do this, and if you're interested to work on this, and as Raju mentioned, we'll work on this after this workshop. Like you can connect with Raju and then connect with Wayne to see how we can make this happen. Because this is really important if you want to be a leader in whatever space you want. And leadership is not titles. Leadership is not your position. Leadership is not your role. It is the impact that you have on someone's life, and it is how you enable your team to grow. Right? So do this self-reflection of how you feel about where you are on that matrix.
Where is it placed? In? Okay, great. Connect later.
I don't have a handle. Anyone busy number 3?
Yeah, one person. Is anyone here who's never spoken in front of an audience? Would you like to change that today? All right. I'm counting on you to finish your reflection and then maybe come up here, and then it's a safe space. No one's going to judge you. So I've been talking for the last 3 hours. No one has bit me yet. So you're safe. Wait.
Oh, thanks. So finishing this.
No, I mean, you volunteered. I think my reflection in the industry and in general is what stops us from being our best is ourselves. Right? The moment you have one foot in the door, the moment you take the action, even no matter how small that is, things change. Yeah, I mean, just standing up and volunteering and to speak takes a lot of courage. And being an introvert, that came very difficult to me. So I appreciate anyone and every time I see someone taking an action, doing things that they've never done before, because that's what will take you forward. Like they say, what got you here will not get you there, right? So, yeah. So I hope that you all encourage this behavior. Whenever you see someone taking initiative, acknowledge and award or reward that behavior so that you see more of it. But anyone ready to share apart from you? You take your time. Meanwhile, anyone ready to share? You? All right. Come on.
Yeah. So in terms of scoring, right? So I put the prioritization to be 4 as my strength, right? Um, because I come from a background where I was working as a data analyst and then transitioned to be a product manager. So in terms of prioritizing features or anything as such, like it is more handy for me to prioritize based on the data that's there, right? Having said that, in terms of communicating with stakeholders, right? So that's where I think I lag a little bit right now. So I score myself 3 over there. And in terms of empathy, like when I think from a player perspective, I also do a lot of reconstruction. So right, so I probably rate it as 4.5 over there. And in terms of decision making, again, prioritization and decision making sort of come in hand, right? So I will scoring it as 4.5. But conflict resolution is a place where I still lag. I give it as 3 right now. And my current role over there is product manager right now. My next milestone is to be a senior product manager over there, right? So having said that, right, so the key skills to grow right now, one of the things is the stakeholder management. The other one is since I work with a publishing team, right, so you need to work with the developer, right? So, I mean, you would also have experiences working with many developers out there, right? So conflict resolution is one of the things there where I'm still figuring out how to tackle that when I'm working with developers over there. So I want to like touch up on both of these points in the coming months. Yeah.
Good job.
That's
Thank you
pretty
for
much it.
sharing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Round of applause. What's your name?
Shashi.
Shashi. All right. Round of applause for Shashi. And let's give it up. Someone who's never been in front of a big audience and is gathering up the courage to do so.
Yeah,
Go
this
for
is
it.
my first time being in an event, so
Okay. Go for it.
yeah. So based on prioritization, I would say for a task, I would give it a 4 because main task is always required. It's a goal of a company as well as for an individual. Communication, I would rate myself as 3 because I do speak friendly and I'm silent most of the time, but I do speak friendly. But certain times, the way I talk can be misinterpreted in a different ways, and I do end up in trouble. So I'll have to correct in that one. Empathy, yes, I rank it as 4 because I always sit on others' shoes and I can understand what is going through because uh, everyone is not going to have a good day. Everybody will have problems, right? Because I think in the previous discussion, when two people were talking, there are two ways of approaching people. One can be direct and rude, and other one is direct and kind because we don't know what that person is going through. So it's okay to be nice. There is a saying that be nice in a working environment. No, you have to be nice. It's just be nice. That's all. And decision making, 3. I would say rate myself 3 because I sometimes jump in decisions. I would say like 1 30 minutes. I would say okay, this would be fine. Another time I would say okay, that would be fine. So I lack at that. Conflict resolutions 3.5 because I think sometimes I resolve a conflict, but most of the time it either go halfway or end up in trouble. So, but sometimes it works. Oh, should I mention the career growth mapping as well?
You just talk about what's the first step that you want to take this month?
I want to like kind of network. I think networking and talking to a lot of people with diverse mindsets and groups would like kind of expand my mind and perspective. So that would be the first goal that I'm going to do. And second thing, like even I miss and a lot of people miss is like unlearning and relearning stuff. So I'll have to do that again. And yeah, that's my first step. So constant and just expand my comfort zone.
Cool. Good.
And what would be one action that I would do is like I would be silent, patient, reduce my ego, but without giving up my self-respect.
Right. Integrity is really important.
Yeah, you can be kind, but not at the cost of giving up your self-respect. But it's okay to be nice, but make sure you have to be nice to yourself as well.
Cool. How did you do? Good job. Congratulations for speaking in front of this lovely crowd, and for that you can have it.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. On that note, I think we'll wrap this up. So we spoke about a bunch of things, right? We spoke about high performance and how to build that, how to define that. We spoke about the culture, about how to think about player first culture, because sometimes when you are in your own tunnel vision, when you're in your own silo, you think you're right, but when you share your perspective with the team, you get a diverse opinion. And that might change your view on certain things. Then we spoke about emotional intelligence, how that can play, make or break a situation. If, again, it's very contextual, like how Harish was saying and how the first demonstration went and how the second demonstration went. But it's very contextual. Like if you know each other really well, be direct, be open, dude, this needs to get done. Ma'am, this needs to get done. And then if you're not, if there's someone new, and then that's where emotional intelligence comes into play. And then that's where inclusion comes into play. Do you want to make them feel that they're part of the team? And it's okay to make mistakes, right? It's not about getting to why it happened, but how are they feeling when it happened? And how can I help you get through this? And so everything that follows, operational wise, can be figured out. Right? So figuring that out, and then also a self-reflection of what kind of leader you want to be. So I heard, product leadership here, like, oh, I want to be the next thing in the product lineup. Then I heard a different reflection about being kind. That's a different kind of leadership. That's again service. I want to be in the service of people. That's a different kind of leadership. And everyone needs to define what kind of leader you want to be. It doesn't happen to you. Life doesn't just happen. You need to kind of plan your career. So every time someone comes to me for advice about career, I say your professional career is very different. Your professional growth is very different from your career growth. Because professional growth could be, oh, I want to go this title, I want to go in this company and that and that and that. And then you're basically climbing the ladder. Your career growth is where you want to be in 10 years of a time, what kind of challenges you want to be. And to me, when someone asks me if this someone is a senior or not, my reflection of that is how complex problems or how many complex situations have they encountered, how many difficult conversations they have had. If they have had more difficult situations than me, more difficult conversations than me and have learnings, then I would consider that person senior even if they have been 1 year in the industry because they've seen things that I have not seen. So that's my definition of what a senior person is in the professional realm. Of course, you have to respect everyone's experience and background, but you need to figure out your own journey because this is not just a jump going from one level to another level, because titles are the most misleading things in our industry. Because in one gaming studio you might be a lead of something, in another studio where there's no hierarchy you could be just the base level person there. I think that's where it becomes really, really important to understand why you do what you do. Is it because of the titles, or is it because are you in the service of players and you want to create that impact to millions and millions of players? So on that note, I'll leave you with this quote where which I kind of relate to also in where did that go? It's not. Yeah, this one. So it's basically a mindset switch, right? Before you switch this on, for me it was personally that it's about growing myself. I want to be, I started as a product coordinator. I said, oh, I want to be a producer. Oh, I want to be a senior producer. Then I got into Zynga. I was like, oh, product managers here, look at their life, the shiny lives that they have. Everyone listens to them. They make the decisions. They get to call the shots. So I should be that. Right? I had to do a lot of unlearning to be where I am, and of course, every experience has taught me. But when I made that mental switch, it became very clear to me that I enjoy helping people. The fact that I'm here sharing my experience with you, I really genuinely want you to figure out your own journey, figure out where you want to be. And if I can be like one micro inspiration in your journey, then I would treat my life as a success in the long-term journey that you would build. Because if any action that you take from here, implement into your team, that would have like a bigger impact in the industry, and then people will learn from that. People will learn from how you have treated your teams and how inclusive you've made them, how you've defined high performance, and how you thought about player first culture, right? So then that for me would have been a big, big success. So I leave you with also this, that we started with this about the phone metaphor. Like I still use it, and it's every day. It's very scary for me to operate this. And then yes, just yesterday, Joseph came from Leela Games like, hey, Mozzy, you live your life very dangerously. You don't have your case on. And every time someone acknowledges that, like, yes, I have made a conscious choice to take the case off, protect things that really matter to me, and let go of things that don't. So I will not hold you up for this because I already kind of get a sense of how everyone's feeling because of that sheet. But I would.
Everybody is quite energized and enthused, and even if you take the time to explain that, people will listen and it will benefit all of us.
Yeah, I would.
Out of any kind of diplomacy, because I'm also as eager as the next guy to get on. But what you are saying is truly valuable.
Yeah, I mean, if you have questions, I'm open to Q&A. But again, I don't want to keep you longer than you already have. I know this has been a long session. So I'm available any point. I can't promise that I'll be immediately available, but I definitely can promise I can work with Raju, and I am available on LinkedIn if you have any questions that you want to follow up. I'm here for Q&A right now, but I just want to make sure that if anyone wants to be somewhere else, they can still be. So thank you everyone for being part of this journey for the last 3 hours. I hope this has been meaningful. I hope you've learned one thing at least from this session that you want to take back, and one thing, one phone case that you want to remove from your leadership style or add on to a leadership style. So thank you again. And if you have questions, Q&A about anything, I'm happy to answer.
My question is,
Yes.
that in the leadership skill matrix, in front of, say, communication, you wrote 5, decision making 3, strategic thinking 4. So is it just examples?
Yeah, that was just an example, yeah.
They are not anything
No, no, that was just an example. Any questions for me?
Anyone, any questions?
Yes.
So of course there's such a difference in, I would say just different areas only, and you've traveled all across the globe as much as I can see from the LinkedIn profile. So how was your journey, and how did you actually make your way to King, of course?
Yeah,
If you
yeah, I
could
actually
speak
had a
about-
slide for that. So I started as a production coordinator at EA when this was pre-App Store era. We were making games for J2, ME, and Symbian and Bara. It's very funny to see that we were making games and they were being sold to operators in it. And then App Store happened. I saw that whole curve of App Store did not exist, the fact that App Store is the bread and butter of free to play, and how free to play actually came into effect, because even when App Store was live, there were paid downloads only. There was no concept of free to play. And then somehow some gaming company, some industry in US started that free to play aspect, and observing that journey from production coordinator, moving to Zynga as the producer who was forming the studio along with the studio head, was very interesting to see. Getting a game transition is so different from actually having your own game, because the transitioning party always feels like they're giving a part of their, you know, creative pie to you, and then they expect you to take care of it. And you have to show confidence that you can, even if you don't know how to do things. You have to show oh, we'll take care of this, we'll actually do more, and then you have to do more. And that's where I think the team aspect came into play, because when you're transitioning, you also have to not only show that you're enthusiastic about this, but also make sure that the team is enthusiastic about it. Because when you're going on a transition, especially, I don't know if this happens anymore, but only a part of team used to travel, and traveling used to be like the shiny thing at the end of the stick, right? Like, oh, we get to go on a transition, and that's like, if you've done that, then you've made it. And for our unfortunate events or misfortune, that we never had like a transition where we have to travel. They traveled to India, and they had a very different time. And that actually was a big learning, because when they came here to Bangalore, they kind of were dedicated, where in the other experience where people went there, they were like all scattered. They didn't have the time that they needed. So from there, I think I worked at Zynga for 4 years, starting as a producer to leading Mafia Wars when I left. That was a huge journey, and that came with a lot of empathy for the team. Again, like this group, and a few other groups said empathy was one of the things, and that's where I exercised as much as I could. And again, my mindset was still like, oh, I need to go to a next promotion, to a next promotion, to a next promotion. My perspective changed when I moved from Zynga to Germany. And that was the most, like if in my very limited time on the side, if someone asked me what was the most difficult thing that you've done, I think moving to Germany to get the experience that I wanted was the most difficult thing, because I don't know German. I've never stepped out of India. And I've never made a career move like this. And I spoke to my mentor about this, was Bob Bates. I don't know if you know Bob Bates. So me and my Bob Bates, yeah, look him up. He has a wiki page. So I spoke to him, and me and my wife got on a call, and then he asked me, Mozzy, is this scary to you? Like, yeah. Do you think you'll benefit out of this move? Yeah. And then he asked a couple of series of questions. He didn't say, tell me what to do, but the fact that he asked me questions that made me think in the right direction made me switch that. Because, and then my key takeaway was, if it scares you, then it's good for you. Because your brain always wants you to be secure, and if you feel that's scary, do that thing first. And I was telling someone about the parable of cows and buffaloes. Again, my ADHD is kicking in, but sorry. But anyone knows the parable of cows and buffaloes? Right, so very interesting thing. So when in US, when there's a tornado coming, cows look at the tornado and run in the other direction. And when a buffalo looks at the tornado, buffalo runs towards the tornado. And that's very interesting when you apply a leadership cap, right? Like when you see a challenge, when you see a problem, when you run away from it, it always looms in your background. You're never there. You're like always trying to search for that meaning, but it's always behind you. And it's chasing you, not the other way around. And you're walking towards the challenge. It might seem very difficult before you actually take that action, but when you take the action, you're other side of the tornado. And that's what happens with buffaloes. The ones they go into the tornado, and the tornado is behind them, they continue grazing on the grass. Wherein cows are always in the fear of tornado being, behind them. So you need to decide whether if you want to be a cow mentality or a buffalo mentality. It's again, everyone has a very personalized journey. And for me, that was a key thing to move to Germany. And then getting exposed to a very direct culture, very, very Indian in that way, very open, very on the front. It's a very different culture. That's where I got to work with a lot of European folks who have a very different perspective on things. And not necessarily the hustle culture that we have here, but more of wellness, that, mental health, not working beyond 6. And if you call them on the weekend, it's illegal, they can sue you, right? So things like that were very, very new to me. And then from there, I came back to Glue, where I got a really interesting challenge. And to your question, I've always chased challenges, not necessarily the titles. Because when I left Zynga, I left as a senior producer, leading Mafia Wars, to going back to Germany as a producer, because the hierarchy was completely flat. And producer over there, on like if you go to the LinkedIn and say, oh, he's just a producer. But then the challenge that I had was to ship a game with Disney in less than 12 months. And we released the game with Disney in 12 months. It tanked, but that's a different story. But we got it out. And I got to do that with a team that was very diverse. Most of them didn't even know or could communicate in proper English, because they were East Europeans also. And to have survived Germany in a way that not knowing German is a very scary thing. So from there, again, once you're into Europe, you spend some time that you kind of get that. Again, coming back to Glue, came back as a senior producer again, led the Deer Hunter franchise. From there, got a chance to move to Rovio as an exec producer on a completely different game that I've never worked on, Angry Birds Evolution. So when I entered the game had 20, anyone is a designer here by profession? Right, then you will relate. When I entered the game had 20 different currencies, and the economy was out of whack. And this is where empathy comes in, right? Like I could have gone and like, okay, this game is shit, we should not be doing it. That's where I exercise empathy. I spoke to the designer like, hey, what is happening here? Can you help me understand? And then he said, oh, I come from a Steam background, so I don't know free to play. So every time he released a new event or a new feature, he created a new currency. So who's to blame here, right? No one. And again, we still managed to do a lot of things with Angry Bird Revolution, but that was how it was so different. And then I'll not go into much details, but before moving to King, I got rejected 4 times at King. I made it to all the last rounds and it didn't happen. But I think it's also the mental switch that happened the last time I spoke to them, right? I said, I don't care if you give this to me or not, but here is what I can do and what I can bring to the table. So knowing your self-worth was that mental switch that happened, not chasing, oh, King is the next big thing that I can go after, but that is what that made it happen. Right? So yeah, I mean, it's a long answer to your short question, but I hope that was helpful. Any other questions? I'm leading product at Farm Hero Saga at King, and I have a team of 100 people on the game that's helping the game run, and my immediate team is like 25 people who help build events, and we drive like around 40% of the entire game's revenue. Like anything outside the core gameplay. Yeah, that too.
And people getting tokens will get something in exchange.
Yeah.
If they do it up till Halloween.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'll give the floor to Raju. So also, thank you, Raju, for inviting me to this talk and making this happen. And I hope this becomes a series of things that we do in this track, and for people who want to become leaders or have that mental switch that you don't need a title to lead. And also kudos to IGDC and to Raju and Wayne here to make it happen for us and for all of us. I hope this was worth your time. I hope you learned something. I definitely learned a lot about diversity and inclusion and how we can give feedback to each other. Like, it was a reflection that every team had a different view on what high performance is. And somehow we kind of tend to forget that, and thank you for reminding me that that's where I need to go back to, the root, which is the roots of what a high performance team looks like. So I give the floor to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mozzy. And I hope you all enjoyed this or even experienced it very different from your day-to-day life, I'm sure. So just a few closing notes from my side. Sorry, I'll take a few minutes from you. Please bear with me. This topic is not so easy to talk about and not so simple to explain the concept, because this is something you feel it and you do it, right? So it's very hard to express that. And Mozzy, he agreed to do this, okay, and through his experiences share all of that and put this together as a, in a context and in a structured way that we can all easily understand. It's so difficult to express that, okay? And thank you so much, Mozzy, for, putting this together and making it a very interesting workshop for all of us. Thank you so much for coming over and accepting us and spending time with us. So, like he said, he's available offline as well, or you could reach out to him LinkedIn later, whenever you have any questions to reach out to him. Wayne and I would also be available. One of the things we will try and work out a follow-up sessions, but it all depends on how we capture your attendees, your information, and we'll probably do a follow-up thing. We'll keep it open and organic. We also have as a volunteer, we also do various things. We keep continuing new innovative things that could help all of you. Okay. Now, just on a taking away from this and into my experience as a leader, been in this industry for about 28 years. One of the things is that please do not chase titles. Okay. That's your beginning of the end of yourself. Okay. So my simple way of saying it is like, Um, First is be a good human being, then good manager, and be a good leader. Okay. But don't be a nice human being, nice manager, or a nice leader. But there's a huge difference between what is a good manager and a nice manager. That's where the empathy versus sympathy kind of defines that. Okay. If you follow that, all the titles, rest of the materialistic world follows you very easily. Okay. So follow these three things and three steps. Rest will all follow you easily too. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will be in touch very soon. Thank you.
Cool. I'm here if you wanna go through the frameworks, right? For anyone interested, I'm here if you wanna go through the frameworks or catch me on LinkedIn. I'm like happy to help you. Right, so come over here around, gather around this on this table. I'll explain to you how I use this, and then probably see how you want to use this and apply to yours. So we have effort and impact, energy. Yes.
Just before you started, one quick picture we want.
Yes. Okay.
I dare and fears in the throne. I'm here.
IGDC ಇದು ಪುರಟಿಯನ್ ರಕ್ತಂ வெற்றியை நோக்கி செல்லும் இந்த பயணம் we never giving up ஆளுவோம் இந்த உலகம் இதயத்தில் நம்பிக்கை படைப்போம் दिल में जुनून है we never giving up गिर के फिर से उठेंगे क्योंकि दिल में जुनून है हर जीत पे सुकून है
I gain, don't care, level up. I dare, step in and fears in the throne. I'm here.
जिंदगी एक खेल रखा गेमिंग वाला जज्बा है हम सो भी नहीं पाते इतना असल अपना सपना है कभी भी नहीं थकना है हसल करना बनता है किस्मत और मेहनत से ख्वाब अपना चमका है गेम जंतर मंतर शॉट अपने बीच में अंतर बहुत सपनों के समंदर में है खतरों के भवंडर बॉट लोडेड अपना इंजन हम खेल के सिकंदर बॉस सर्कल इनोवेटिव लाए जीत का ये थंडरस्टॉर्म जिसने कामयाबी देख जीत के हंगामे अब ना कोई रोक सके और ना हम रुकने वाले जिसने कामयाबी देख जीत के हंगामे अब ना कोई रोक सके और ना हम रुकने वाले we never giving up हम है तो कल है we never giving up इस सफर में मगन है we never giving up ये सफलता की जड़ है we never giving up सफर का ये फल है IGDC இது புரட்சியின் ரத்தம் வெற்றியை நோக்கி செல்லும் இந்த பயணம் we never giving up ஆளுவோம் இந்த உலகம் இதயத்தில் நம்பிக்கை படைப்போம் சரித்திரம் IGDC ये क्रांतिकारी खून है अब हार नहीं कबूल क्योंकि दिल में जुनून है we never giving up गिर के फिर से उठेंगे क्योंकि दिल में जुनून है हर जीत में सुकून है
I gain, don't care, level up. I dare, step in and fears in the throne. I'm here. I gain, don't care, level up. I dare, step in and fears in the throne. I'm here.
IGDC இது புரட்சியின் ரத்தம் வெற்றியை நோக்கி செல்லும் இந்த பயணம் we never giving up ஆளுவோம் இந்த உலகம் இதயத்தில் நம்பிக்கை படைப்போம் சரித்திரம் IGDC ये क्रांतिकारी खून है अब हार नहीं कबूल क्योंकि दिल में जुनून है we never giving up गिर के फिर से उठेंगे क्योंकि दिल में जुनून है हर जीत पे सुकून है
I gain, don't care, level up. I dare, step in and fears claim the throne. I'm here.
जिंदगी एक खेल रखा गेमिंग वाला जज्बा है हम सो भी नहीं पाते इतना असल अपना सपना है कभी भी नहीं थकना है हसल करना बनता है किस्मत और मेहनत से ख्वाब अपना चमका है गेम जंतर मंतर शॉट अपने बीच में अंतर बहुत सपनों के संबंध
high leadership. That's where this comes. Yeah, everyone has their opinion, but I try to see what I can and that. I mean, I'm currently reading Page by Chance, third edition. All of them, but he doesn't have to pick a fair. He has good to play, very good at the right choice, mighty have fallen, side wheel. So he has many concepts there, but again, it's a very nice place to start. And then if you're a founder, then the book called Hard Things or Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, Horowitz 60. That's an amazing book to read if you're a founder. I highly recommend that. So the other matrix that I kind of use is how do I make strategic bets? Like saying, okay, in Zigam you have the concept of whole bets. Okay? Something that takes dog management as a higher or something that takes. And then that's where the low hanging concept is. Okay? This is something that is easy to do and has a bigger impact, gets doing that. And that's how I use it. It's low effort and high impact, kind of realize that's a strategic bet. And that's the use of thinking. This helps me in communicating. It's a strategic bet, it's quick win, and it's this like something that we have to delegate to another team, or it's something that we avoid. So this kind of thing communicate with my team is also so it's good to kind of reflect on this. I don't recommend using everything that I use, but I'm just telling that thing that I use. So what you could do potentially is, as a mental exercise, think about what you're doing currently and how things are on this matrix, and see if you're focusing on that. And there's this book by the dot, it's called The Effective Executive. In that book, it's a very famous person, but someone Google the author of that book, The Effective Executive. One key takeaway that I had from that was what is the difference between the executive level and effective executive? Peter Drucker. He's I think father of management or something like that. So what he says in that book, which I take to my heart and everything is an executive might focus on doing things the right way, which I think we all fall into that stuff. But if you want to be an effective executive, what he says is the difference is while an executive focuses on doing the things the right way, an effective executive focuses on doing the right things, even if it's not the right way to do it, but like something that you would like, if it's important, I will give it right, and then tell it the right. But there are consequences to every action that we get context. But doing the right things first, that's what I try to wrestle with in my head. Should I be focusing on doing this the right way, or get that urgent and you want to be workshop in order to come, but I've had the luxury of having been doing it again. It's a luxury, but I work, I never see.
What do you?
And at the time when I was in the industry, very new, very rarely you about something that you're doing, talking about giving your advice. So that's where I made up my mind. If I some sort of be in a position where I can help the community and give it back, I'd always be the mentor that I never been. And that's my kind of push to build me good. If I can take, give you one piece of thing that you take and then diet, that's cheese, maybe, but made you better. My production, so this is my humble approach of helping how is your journey and like I said, your next day is going up. Even though it's production workshop, production panel, I think it's about the journey I'll share one personal reflection. When I was very new as a producer, I thought my job was to shield the team from management. I think half the time, I'm saying whatever you tell, whatever bullets you want to fire, I'm still there. And that was the biggest mistake of my life. Because what I realized is everyone is important. No one needs to babysit. And so I think that also was like unlearning aspect. Like again, like I said, leadership is not about leadership. Everyone, I believe, can be leader in the leader in some shape or form. It's about sharing a lot of things that exactly like taking that case off But yeah, so I think the 6 frameworks are something that we will reflect on and see where you stand. Try to make that effort, write it down. Okay, this is where I am. This is what I'm currently doing. I'm going to try to write things, doing the right things. What helped me actually is that these things I used to think, wherever I used to I used to think them in front of me. Because subconsciously, even I'm not looking at it, my eyes are going, it always registers in my distance. Okay, so that's a whatever you follow, write it down in your own stick it in front of you, it becomes like part of your embody. Because now I just embody this. That's how I become a second nature. I know what is social. And there's a lot of content on this therapy. And I think we really like it. And that also has been a really big change in my career. I said I will learn from people, like the person, live with them. Then things have so much more that we can take. Not everything is useful, but reading one thing a day made a big difference.
Sir, how to actually kೈ ಬೇಕು சார் எனக்கு வந்து ஆடியோ வர கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணுவீங்க five hours per visit. Balance na no wala ha, 5 na 6 ah. 5. Robert dan no? But single look at na no, single wala. Kaya ora parang miss. Lati ko. Ne balance ito man na. 6 hours. Ne 6 hours pa lang balance. Cari, no, tapi dia kabur kan?